Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. Today we're talking about how to make photography your full-time job. So if you're super interested in photography, it's your passion, and if it's literally all you want to be doing for work, this video is definitely for you. And if you're wondering why you should be listening to the things I'm going to say today, I have now been doing photography full-time for almost 9 years now. So being my own boss, funding my lifestyle, and living here in New York City and all of what comes with that, because it's definitely not a cheap city to live in here. And that's only from doing photography and content creation. So I feel like at this point, I've really learned what works and what doesn't work for me finance-wise. I feel like subconsciously I've gotten to a point where I can kind of look back at the past year or even the past few weeks of the work I've been doing, and I can sort of learn from that and lean into the things that were really worth my time. So jobs that paid a lot but weren't really super daunting or time consuming. I actually have a video all about my different streams of income as a photographer, and I'll link that below. But just to name some, there are things like affiliate links, physical and digital products like my photo book and presets, Google AdSense from the videos I make here on YouTube, licensing and usage for photos, photo shoots of course, and then brand work and brand deals. But these things differ for each photographer, especially if you were just starting out in your journey and looking to book your first job. So let's get into some tips and tricks that you guys can do, because although those are what I found that work for me, nothing really happens overnight, and it's taken me a bit to get to this point. Starting out, I'm gonna tell you, if you're someone who has a full-time job or a part-time job that is currently sustaining you and you just wanna quit those completely and just jump into photography, I'm gonna say, let's think about that for just a second. I'm not saying this hasn't worked for anyone, because obviously with this, you can just kind of exert all your time and energy into photography, and with that, you're gonna see a difference and you're gonna see growth, hopefully. But I think it's super important to have that financial stability while you're building your photography business. There are so many different expenses that go into being a photographer, from different editing subscriptions to owning or renting gear, hard drives, phones, computers, studio expenses. There's actually so much money you need to even start photography, which makes it really difficult in itself. So I'd suggest treating photography as a sort of side hustle to sort of test the waters and establish yourself either online or in your local area, and then eventually start to dive into how much you're making. And even if it's more than what you make at your day-to-day job, photography can be super inconsistent, so try to be mindful of that as well. If that side hustle income starts to consistently make more than your job for like 3 to 6 months or something like that, start to consider it, because with these different photography sort of industries, there are different points in the year where photography really thrives. So like in the warmer months for wedding photographers, I feel like they really grind from like spring to summer and even into fall. And then in those colder months, things start to get a little slower. They have to find other ways to keep their income consistent or be really good at saving. Just be mindful of that ebb and flow that comes with doing freelance work. But now let's talk about things you can focus on to grow as a photographer to really get there. Obviously, investing in or renting a camera is a huge part of being a photographer, because you need a camera to take the photos. Unfortunately, that doesn't always mean you're gonna take amazing photos right away. So before you wanna even start trying to get these jobs or clients, you're gonna wanna learn the basics. So learn things like composition, editing techniques, study light, and also just learn your camera inside and out. I think I played with my camera and shot around for fun for like 2 or 3 years before I got paid for anything at all that was photography related, which doesn't always need to be the case at all. I see so many talented photographers that started just like a year ago, which is crazy. But for me, it was definitely sort of necessary, because when you're starting out, of course, you don't know anything at all, especially me. I didn't come from a photography background. I was interested in drawing and painting and stuff like that. So I was just shooting in auto settings and taking photos of things in real life that I liked and that I thought would be interesting, which is definitely great. But it came to a point where the things that I wanted to capture, how I actually saw them in real life, I couldn't get right because I didn't know anything about aperture, shutter, ISO. So that is something I would have maybe changed when I got started, to just sort of fast track the process of doing photography for your job. Because once you're able to be in better control of your camera, you can create things that really suit your style. This will fall into our next sort of tip, and that is building a portfolio. So now that you've learned the basics of your camera and maybe you even found the style that you like to shoot, you can start building a strong, really cohesive portfolio that really reflects the work that you want to get hired for. Because if you really think about it, you can't really get hired for any sort of project if you don't have anything at all to show for it, unless a person really trusts you, but let's not rely on that. But a huge part of how I got my clients in the beginning is that I sort of developed a signature style that people really wanted to hire me directly for. And not only can this make you really stand out amongst all the other photographers out there, but you'll also get hired for the things that you actually want to do. When I first was starting out and didn't really have a style or anything, I had clients bring projects to me where they wanted me to recreate someone else's style. And I almost felt like I couldn't really deliver what they wanted because it wasn't me. It was like recreating someone else's work in a way. So it's really important to have photos for your clients to reference so that they know what to expect when you go to deliver the photos. So in this sort of era that you might be in, you will have to shoot for free. And I know that might be a little controversial, but you kind of have to. I went as far as doing full-on photo shoots for like clothing companies completely for free or just in exchange for clothes. And although I might not suggest that because they can start to take advantage of you, definitely get paid for usage and stuff, especially if they're putting them on their website or using them for like advertising purposes. But at the end of the day, I don't really regret what I did because I was able to build my portfolio so much. The brand that I was working for at the time was providing me with models that I would have never gotten the chance to shoot with because I didn't have any work and they were super experienced. And that alone led to so many other opportunities. And you're also just gaining people skills as well, which is sort of necessary as a photographer by meeting new people and trying to figure out how to pose them. And now with all that work, you're able to build a website or a social media presence. And to be honest, I feel like the key factor in how I was able to build relationships with the brands that I work with every single day is really getting my name out there through social media. And I focus so much of my time promoting myself really on these platforms like Instagram, YouTube. Now there's TikTok, obviously, which also might be banned, so maybe not. But I have gotten to a place in my career where I don't really have to reach out to clients anymore. And that is such a luxury because now they're kind of coming across me in a way. So there really is so much power with social media because you're able to get eyes on your work from all over the world and not just locally within your area. And I know you may not want to do social media. I know you're interested in photography. Why would you kind of want to dive into that whole other world of social media? But it can really skyrocket your business. So do your research and kind of find out what works for you. Maybe you could start out by doing just a few posts a week or something, kind of take it easy starting out. Try to engage with followers and use different hashtags and location tags. Like I'm saying, social media is such a big part of the business aspect of photography, but there is also a lot of other elements on the business side you're gonna wanna think about too before getting into photography full time. So things like the importance of contracts, also how to price your photography, invoices, and taxes as well. I'm definitely not telling you to become an expert overnight or even an expert at all, really. I'm definitely still learning about all of this myself. I also think it's important to sort of delegate things out to people who know what they're doing. For example, I have an accountant who kind of handles my taxes for my LLC. And then I also have a financial advisor who can sort of adequately sort of handle my investments and money and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, I really just want to be taking photos. I don't want to have to be doing like all of that. But yeah, pricing and even contracts can definitely be a little tricky, and you'll definitely run into some issues along the way or things you wish you did differently. That's all just kind of part of the process, especially if you're starting your own business. And if you do have friends in the photography field, it might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but I feel like me and all my close friends that are photographers, we really try to openly talk about rates and prices that we charge when working with certain brands, especially if we're in the same sort of industry. And I feel like we should normalize this because it allows us to have more insight on what to charge and what we're worth. But as for contracts, I definitely have had to come up with my own in the past. But now a lot of the agencies and the brands that I work with will provide me with their own contract, which is really nice. And there's also a lot of templates online that you can find as well if you're having to make your own. Moving on on, we're gonna be talking about setting goals and staying consistent, because just like a normal 9-to-5 job you would clock in for, you should show up every single day for your photography hustle. So if you're wanting to do photography full-time, try to treat it like a regular job. It could definitely be hard juggling your day job and this, but if you really wanna make the transition, you'll kind of have to put in those crazy hours, especially in the beginning. Freelancing is the dream, I feel like, for a lot of people, but it also means working really weird hours and late nights and holidays and weekends. And I think a lot of people think of it as something that's so amazing because you can create your own hours, but a lot of the time being your own boss, I feel like, just means always feeling like you could do more, or kind of never knowing when to stop working as well. And that's definitely something I struggle with. So maybe try creating some sort of structure for yourself. Maybe you're scheduling set hours where you can kind of do emails or calls or edit. And honestly, I should take my own advice here, because I feel like that's something I don't have boundaries with, or like kind of know when to stop. Like I can just be creating within the late hours of the night and wake up in the morning, start working right away again. Okay, but now let's jump into some sort of rapid fire tips and tricks for becoming a full-time photographer. First up, leveraging your local area. So offering to shoot at local events, maybe fairs or markets near you. And this is something where you can gain a lot of exposure or connections from your own community. This is a great way to sort of build your client base, maybe gain referrals. Next up, offering mini sessions to sort of test the market. So maybe hosting themed sessions like holiday portraits or branding headshots or couple shoots at an affordable rate. And this is a great way to attract new clients, especially with that sort of discounted rate. Next up, using stock photography platforms for extra income. There's a ton of sites like Adobe Stock or Shutterstock where you can upload unused or experimental shots and then have that as passive income. I'm literally always doing test shoots that are for no other reason other than just to create and experiment with people that I really admire, like makeup artists or stylists or models. And sometimes I find myself being like, wait, I should upload these somewhere instead of them just sitting around on my hard drive or my Instagram. With this though, just be sure to acquire some sort of release or get approval from whoever is in the photos when you upload them, whether it's a model or a friend. Next up, you could start a photography blog or a newsletter. This can be really fun, especially if you like writing. I don't love writing, so I'm skipping this one, but you can include things like tips or moments from your favorite shoot. I love looking at online articles or blogs about good photography locations, especially if I'm hitting up a new area or just want to know like a good photo spot for where I live. And this is also a great way to drive traffic back to your Instagram or maybe your email for them to inquire about a photo shoot. Moving on, creative photography presets or LUTs that you can sell. And this is a great way to monetize the look that you've created for your photos while helping other people kind of achieve that same effect. Next, collaborate with other creators or other influencers, especially in like the fashion world. I feel like they're always looking for high quality photos. I have a lot of actor friends. I feel like they're always looking for headshots. It's a perfect way to sort of get the ball rolling. But yeah, I hope this video really gave you some insight on how to take your hobby of photography into a full-time job. I know there was like a ton of information I threw at you here, so I hope you're not too stressed watching this. But just remind yourself to take it day by day. There will be highs and lows, and it's definitely not going to be something that happens overnight by any means. So everyone's journey looks a lot different, and I'm just hoping this kind of gave you some ideas on how you can kickstart your transition into a full-time photographer. And if you're currently in that process, maybe let us know in the comments what you're doing that's sort of working for you. If you did enjoy this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And with all of that, I will see you guys soon. Bye.